we spend a lot of time troubleshooting, and I want to kind of reiterate a point I've made before about when do you blame yourself and when do you blame your seeds. And what's prompting this is I've had a batch of sunflower seed that I can't do anything with. No matter what I do, I cannot get a good crop out of it. I still have about 5 kilograms of that seed left, and I'm really not going to use it. But there was some new seed available from my supplier at Mum's in Saskatchewan, so I picked some of that seed up, and I thought, well, let's try some new seed, see what kind of results we get, and maybe I'm the problem. Turns out I am not the problem. This new seed, beautiful, like almost perfect germination, really vigorous. It's so vigorous, in fact, that it's keeping pace with my wheatgrass. So this was actually uncovered a day early. So far it's got everything I would want in a seed. Maybe a little more uniformity. I can see a little bit of height difference, but I'm pretty sure that's going to even out. So what's really important is every lot of seed that you get is going to be different. Sunflower isn't just the same seed every time, every year. The growers, the country of origin, all these things are going to change all the time. My last seed was an Italian seed. This is from the US. There's another lot at Mum's that's from the US. Sometimes it's from Canada. So all those things are factors. The actual variety is a factor as well. So one thing to keep in mind when you're troubleshooting is when you see problems with a new lot of seed, you need to understand that new lots of seed might need some different methods. So you might need to soak your seed a little longer or a little shorter than you're used to. I remember we had a lot where we went from an overnight soak to a 2-hour soak, and it took us a few batches to figure that out, like that was the problem. Sometimes it's going to be you need longer or shorter soak time, warmer temperatures. Maybe a seed just really needs the warmth, or it really doesn't want too warm, right? You need to bring the temperature down a little bit. I control my temperature with a heating pad. I can keep it on all day and night. I can keep it on just during the day or just during the night, or I can keep it off. So I have all these options with that. So keeping that stuff in mind is really, really important. But if you're doing all those things, you're adjusting all the things you know how to, and you still can't get your seed to grow well, you have to start thinking, okay, is it me or is it the seed? So one of the things is you're seeing consistent problems. Second thing is maybe you're seeing new problems you haven't seen before. So these are all indicators of that. The next thing is to get onto some forums and talk to other microgreens growers and find out what they're doing. I found this with this other batch. I've made previous posts about the quality of seed, and somebody has replied saying, hey, is that the SFH batch? Yes, it is the SFH batch, because people were seeing very similar problems in very different growing systems. So that's an indicator there as well, because sometimes the seed works well in some systems and not in others, and that's always going to be the case. So yeah, talk to other growers, see what they're experiencing, see what they're doing differently. It's like, oh, you skip this stage, or you change your density, or you do something different. It's like, oh, okay, that's something I haven't tried. So you're really using all your resources to explore your options. The other thing to do is actually talk to the seed company. Now, a good seed company will tell you, yeah, we've had some complaints about this seed. It's not been our best lot. A lot of growers are having this sort of trouble. Here's the results that seem to be working best. So here's the methods that seem to be working best for growers. I did this with the last batch of seed. They had found that a 5-hour soak was optimum. I found it helped. It was 4.5 to 5 hours worked and improved, but it wasn't suitable enough for even making it worth growing the seed for my system. So for me, when I've gone through a whole process of trying different methods, seeing what other growers are experiencing, talking to the seed company, and not getting good results, it's time for me to move on to the next batch of seeds. So that's exactly what I've done. And now the question is, what do I do with that other seed? To me, it is not sufficient enough for microgreens production. So I've got a few options here. And none of them is going to make the best use of the money I spent on that seed, but it's a few years old now, and I'm willing to just move on. It would be different if I had a pallet load of this seed. But I think this is a seed that I would have tested in a commercial system and probably would have realized that maybe wouldn't have been the best seed as well. So I'm going to do two things with this seed. One is it's going to partially become bird seed. I like to feed the birds and have them come around. But I'm also going to plant a bunch of it. So it may not make a good microgreen, but it's still growing sufficiently. So what I'll do is I'll start a bunch in pots, and then I'll transplant them into the garden and get some sunflowers going in the yard. Now, typically black oil sunflowers are not particularly showy sunflowers. They tend to be a little smaller and not so impressive. But all I'm trying to do is just add a little diversity to the garden. So I'm trying to make the best use of that seed that I can, and that's how I'll do that. So yeah, the key question here to ask is, when is it you and when is it the seed when you're seeing trouble? It's the same process you go through, whether it's home production or commercial production. Once you've gone through all the methods that you know of that you can change to make things, improve things and change things, and they're not working, you've talked to other growers, you've talked to the seed company, nothing seems to work, maybe it's time to move on to the next batch of seeds. So just something to keep in mind when you're frustrated and spending a lot of time working something out. Sometimes it's just the nature of the seed and you're not going to be able to figure that out. Hopefully that's rarely the case. This is only about the second time it's happened to me in 13 years at this point, but it does happen. So just keep that in mind, and yeah, remember, it's not always you, it could be the seed.